Today we are continuing with Good morning. Can everyone hear me? All right, we're going to get started. I'm Kelly McLean. I'm the math coach at Shoally Creek. Some of you may have seen me around, especially have older children. Today we're going to be working on math for 4K and 5K. I have Selena with me. Selena, you want to pop your hand around? Hola, soy Selena. She's going to be translating for us as we go through. So if you have any questions, let me just go through a little bit of housekeeping on how Zoom works. If you will click on your picture.
Que si le puede presionar a la foto de usted.
And in the top right-hand corner, you'll have a blue box with 3 dots.
Y arriba, a mano derecha, va a tener una cajita cuadrada azul que si le apachurra las 3 bolitas.
If you'll click that, you can unmute yourself. I had everybody unmuted as you came on today. But you can unmute yourself if you need to ask a question. There's also a feature where you can raise your hand.
Se puede presionar el que para quitarse del mudo y si tiene algunas preguntas.
Permítame porque no la escucho. Deje arreglo aquí. Buenos días, sí, ya pude.
If you aren't muted, unless you have a question, if you would stay muted, that way, because it picks up background sound with you. So if you have unmuted yourself, if you will stay muted unless you have a question, then of course, ask away.
Si se puede quedar en mudo para hasta que necesite preguntar unas preguntas porque podemos escuchar a todo lo que está alrededor de usted.
Okay.
All right. There's also a chat feature, so you can type a question into the chat if you would like to do that as well. I will try my best. If I haven't answered your question in the chat feature, just say, Ms. McLean, can you answer my question? And I'll be more than happy to.
Y hay un chat a mano derecha también, si que tiene algunas preguntas, puede escribirlas ahí a mano derecha. Y le puede levantar la mano si tiene también alguna pregunta.
Okay.
All right. Does anybody have any questions before we get started?
¿Algunas preguntas antes de que empecemos?
Okay, thank you for joining us, and we're going to get started today. I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see exactly what I'm doing. And at the end, there's going to be a survey, and I will send home your materials with your child in the next week or so. We're still waiting on those materials to come in, so as soon as they get here, I'll send those home.
Y también van a enviar los materiales con los niños en cuanto lleguen. Todavía no les llegan todos los materiales.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so the most important feature with 4K and 5K is forming a number sense.
La primera información más importante para los de kinder y
4K and 5K.
4K y 5K es formando un cuadro de 5.
So when I talk about number sense, I'm talking about not just being able to rote count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but to understand what those numbers mean and how they relate to one another. So for example, you want to say things like, what is 1 more than a number? What is 1 less than a number? Rather than saying what comes next.
Lo que ella se refiere cuando dice reconociendo el 5 es cuando los niños reconozcan el valor de 1 al 5. De contar al 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
In 4K, you want to have a sense of 5, making sure you understand 0 through 5 and how they relate to one another.
En 4K es el sentido de 5 y cómo se relaciona cada número del 1 al 5.
All right, so I've chosen to use today some yellow and red counters to help us with our counting.
Vamos a usar los contadores rojos y amarillos.
So when I fill my 5 frame, in the beginning, you are going to notice students pointing and counting, which is what we want them to do. It's called one-to-one correspondence.
Al principio, los niños van a contar del 1 a 5 usando su dedo para contar.
So you want them to point, touch, count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Que apunten, tienten y cuenten del 1 al 2, 3, 4, 5.
For some students, the movement of the counters will help as well.
Para unos estudiantes, el movimiento de los contadores les ayudará.
So physically moving it in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you start asking questions so they'll understand how numbers relate to one another, ask what is 1 more or 1 less? What is 1 more than 2?
Para que ellos puedan entender qué son los números, se le puede preguntar qué es 1 más de 1 o 1 menos de 1.
They can put it into their 5 frame and they can see that they have 1 more than 2.
Se les puede poner otro 1 al 2 que se dice qué es 1 más de 2.
Same thing for asking 1 less. What is 1 less than 2? They physically can move it out.
Igualmente, cuando se les dice que es 2 menos de 1.
Over time, your child will just see this 5 frame and recognize that there are 5 objects in this without having to do the one-to-one. You may even see their head bob to count them, but over time, they're going to recognize this as being 5.
Sobre el tiempo, ellos van a reconocer que este cuadro es 5. Van a empezar a contar menos con los dedos.
If I have any questions about how to use a 5 frame.
¿Algunas preguntas de cómo usar el cuadro de 5?
I'm going to move on to the 10 frame, which is just a double of the 5 frame. And you want to have, in kindergarten, this becomes a sense of 10. So you want to know what comes as 1 less, 1 more than any number within 10.
Y vamos a movernos al cuadro de 10 y en kinder los niños van a saber que es 2 cuadros de 5.
I'm going to change my counter because at home you might not always have the red and yellow counters.
Va a usar los frijoles para contar en vez porque en la casa a veces no tienen los contadores rojos y amarillos.
So I'm going to use some dry beans. And you could use any other counter. It can be candy, it could be pennies, anything that you want to use that they can tangibly put their hands on to be able to count.
Y puede ser cualquier cosa que tienen en el hogar, que puede ser dulce o cualquier cosa que ellos puedan físicamente tentar.
So when you're building a sense of 10 and you're using this 10 frame, we want to ensure that they can count 1 to 1, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But over time, they will recognize this top row as having 5 and 2 more.
Sobre el tiempo van a saber construir el cuadro, que sepan que la primera línea de arriba es 5 y que le agregaron 2 más y son 7.
So as they see there's 5, they can count on from here. 5, 6, 7.
Que reconocen que hay 5 arriba y cuenten del 6 al 7.
Over time, this becomes more like an addition equation. 5 plus 2 more equals 7.
Y saben que sobre el tiempo ellos van a saber que 5 que suman otros 2 es 7.
And eventually, going into first grade, this is going to help them add and subtract and with those equations that lead them up to 10. So the more they know about using this 10 frame and what it looks like for example, I know that there's 7 here. I have 3 more that I need to make 10. So over time, they start using this 10 frame and can visualize what these numbers are.
Y sobre el tiempo ellos van a saber, como cuando están en primer grado, van a saber que este es un cuadro de 10 y saben que 5 al de 7 le falta 3 más para tener 10. Y van a usarlo para sustraer y sumar.
You can use this for subtraction. And one thing I would suggest when you are working with math, especially when you get into the equations,
Y este lo van a usar cuando estén en grados más altos, los van a usar para formar problemas.
Is to put them into a story form because it's much easier for them to relate to objects versus just the numbers.
Esto lo van a poner en una forma de historia para que reconozcan los números en vez de solamente usar números.
So for example, there are 5 beans, or let me do, because I got 2 different beans here. There are 4 beans growing on the stalk.
Por ejemplo, va a haber 4 frijoles creciendo.
3 more beans start to sprout.
3 más empezaron a crecer.
How many beans in all?
¿Cuántos frijoles en todo?
So if you're using your 10 frame, you see that I have 4, 3 more join, that equals 7.
Y si estás usando el cuadro de 10, sabes que hay 4 y 3 más son 7.
Same thing with subtraction. There are 7 beans on my plate.
Igualmente con sustrayendo, se dice que hay 7 frijoles en el plato.
Mama says I have to try 3 beans.
Mamá dice que tiene que probar 3 frijoles.
How many beans are left?
¿Cuántos quedan? ¿Cuántos frijoles quedan?
So the 10 frame can be used as a place to house or to place your objects as you're counting. It can help you find that sense of 10. You can use it for addition and subtraction.
El cuadro de 10 puede usarlo para guardar los objetos que están usando para que sepan los niños que están viendo, sustrayendo y sumar.
And just remember to always ask, what is 1 more or 1 less than a number? What's 2 more or 2 less than a number? So on and so forth, rather than asking what comes next.
Y siempre recuerde de preguntarle qué son 2 más o 2 menos en vez de preguntarle qué viene después o qué sigue.
Any questions on the 10 frame?
¿Algunas preguntas?
All right, next we're going to move on to what's called subitizing. And I'm sorry, my phone's ringing behind me. We'll just make them call back.
El siguiente vamos a movernos a sustituyendo.
All right, subitizing. This is a word that actually your kids will learn. It is, so we become quick.
Miss McLean, I have a parent that needs help getting in Zoom.
Just 1 second.
Thank you.
Just 1 minute. I'm going to unshare my screen. I don't have anybody in the waiting room. Okay, give me 1 second. Let me call her. Okay, that's okay. Okay, is she going with the link or the QR code? Sure. Hello? Hello? Uh-huh. Okay, if you will scan the paper, if you'll put your camera up to the phone or to the QR code, it should scan it. Is that working? Okay, who's your child's teacher? That's me. Who teaches your child? Miss McConaughey. I'm going to call back to the front office and ask them to transfer you to Miss McConaughey's class and ask them for the link to email to you. Can you get the email? Okay. All right. Thank you. Hey, she's going to call back. I've asked her to talk to Ms. McConaughey and ask them to email her the link. Okay, that's okay. Thanks. Okay. All right, so sorry about that. And it's pajama day, so y'all really got to see my pajamas. All right, let me share my screen again. Okay, here we go, subitizing. Subitizing is a big word, but basically what it means is to be able to recognize sets or groups of numbers quickly.
Subtitulado es cuando los niños reconocen a conocer qué son conjuntos y pares.
All right, so when you have a student subitize, you want to show the amount quickly. So like I would quickly show this amount and I would take it away.
Ella lo que enseña es, les va a enseñar un papel y los niños reconocen qué número es lo que les enseñó.
And here's what you're going to see them do. I'm going to hold it out here much longer than you would show your students. You're going to see their head bobbing because this is typically shown not where they can touch it.
A veces va a ver la cabeza de los niños moviéndose porque típicamente no los dejan tentar eso.
So here's what you're going to see their heads do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Van a estar
7.
contando con la cabeza.
That's how they all start out in the beginning.
Así empiezan todos al principio.
What we want to build them up to is to recognize that when I see his hand up, it has 5.
Lo que quieren hacer es que ellos reconozcan que cuando miran la mano, reconozcan que hay 5.
And this one has 2.
Y la otra mano tiene 2.
So ultimately, we would want them to say they're 7.
Y que sepan que son 7.
Then we ask the question, how did you see that?
Y van a preguntarles cómo vieron eso.
They might say, I see 5 and 2. I know 5 and 2 more is 7.
Pueden decir que ellos vieron el 5 y 2 y reconocen que 5 y 2 son 7.
Here's a different one they might subitize with.
Aquí está otro diferente.
You would show it quickly, have them tell you how many.
Los enseña rápidamente y les puede decir lo que ven, los niños ven.
This is going back to that 10 frame that we just learned about.
Y después vamos al cuadro de 10.
So you would ask them, how many do you see?
Les preguntas cuántos ven.
They may say, I see 2 red, 4 black.
Pueden decir que ven 2 rojos y 4 negros.
They may say, I see 4 blue, sorry, that is not blue, 4 black, 2 red.
Pueden decir que vieron 4 negros y 2 rojos.
They may say, I see 5 and 1.
Pueden decir que ellos vieron 5 y 1.
Either way they see it is fine. There's not a right or wrong answer unless the answer is wrong.
De cualquier manera que te digan la correcta respuesta está correcto, aunque menos si le dicen la respuesta incorrecta.
Ultimately, you want this to work towards them being able to add and see different sets of numbers to work up to a 10.
Y la método es de que los niños reconozcan los pares y que sean hasta el 10.
Here's another one that you can subitize.
Aquí está otro.
Show it quickly.
Se los enseña rápidamente.
Ultimately, you want them to know that this is 5.
Que reconozcan que este es 5
and 4.
y 4.
They could say, I see 4 and 4 with a slash. That's 9.
Pueden decir que ven 4 y 4 y una línea por dentro.
See dots?
Miran las bolitas.
So they may say to you, I see that there are 7. I see 3 and 4.
Pueden decir que son 7, que ellos miran 3 y 4.
They may say, I see 2 and 5.
Pueden decir que ven 2 y 5.
They could say 4 and 3. So there's not a wrong combination of numbers.
Pero no hay una combinación de números incorrecta.
In fact, the more ways that they see it, the more fluent they're going to become in adding these numbers.
Y entre más
how they'll become more fluent in adding
En,
numbers.
si quieren, en más combinaciones que ellos vean, su matemáticas se les mejora.
And you also may see it in dice form.
Y a veces los va a ver en forma de dados.
You'll be receiving a set of supertizing cards, but if you don't have those around you, you can always just put counters together.
Va a recibir unas cartas con los subtitulados.
And have them supertized from there.
Y si no los tiene, puede usar cosas en la casa.
Just remember it's shown quickly so that they don't have actual time to physically count every single dot or object that's
Y
there.
recuerde que eso se les enseña rápidamente para que no tengan tiempo de contarlos y solamente reconozcan los pares.
Any questions about supertizing?
¿Algunas preguntas?
All right, we're moving on to a number line.
Vamos a movernos a la línea de números.
I'm going to change my counter up to some connecting cubes, and you'll get these connecting cubes in your packet as well, and also the two-sided colored counters.
Va a recibir los cubos que se conectan igualmente como unas redondas que va a recibir también de rojo y amarillo.
All right, one thing that's good about these connecting counters, a lot of times in 4K and 5K, their fine motor skills are still developing. So if you use the connecting cubes, they can practice pulling them apart and work on those fine motor skills in their hands.
Y estos cubos, la cosa buena que tienen es de que en 4G y en Kinder, ellos están aprendiendo a usar sus motoras finas y pueden ellos seguir practicando conectándolos y desconectándolos.
All right, so the thing I like about a number line is that it actually has the numbers that they can see.
Lo que le gusta de la línea de números es que pueden ver los números en la línea.
And a place to put their counters.
Y en un lugar donde pueden poner los contadores.
So I'm just going to fill my number line up.
Va a llenar la línea.
And here I'm going to ask them the same questions that I asked when I used the 5 frame and the 10 frame.
Y les va a preguntar las mismas preguntas que les preguntó cuando usaron el cuadro de 10 y 5.
Here, again, you want them to do that one-to-one correspondence. So they're touching each and everything as they count.
Y que cuando les empiecen, que deben de tentarlo del 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Also with the number line, they are visually seeing this number.
Y en la línea, pues, ellos visualmente pueden ver el número,
saying the number,
decirlo,
and touching the object to represent the number.
y tentarlo.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ask questions like, what is one more?
Que pregunte preguntas que como, ¿qué es uno más?
And they would say 6.
Y les dirá que es 6.
You could ask questions, how do you know that's one more than 5?
Les puede preguntar cómo el niño reconoce que es uno más que 5.
And they can explain, because I added one more.
El niño puede explicar que porque le sumó uno más.
You may ask, what is 2 less than 6?
Le puede preguntar que son 2 menos de 6.
And they would count 1, 2, 3, 4.
Y le cuenta del 1 al 4.
You might ask, how do you know 4 is 2 less than 6?
Le puede preguntar cómo reconoce que 2 menos 6 es 4.
And then they would explain, because I took 2 away.
El niño le puede explicar por qué él le quitó 2.
In the beginning, you're asking more of how the numbers relate to each other versus asking for addition and subtraction.
Al principio le va a preguntar cómo los números se relacionan a cada uno en vez de subtraer y sumar.
But eventually, this number line is going to work up to them adding. Again, put it in a story format. I have 4 friends I have invited to my party.
Y también se les puede contar una historia que tiene 4 amigos que invitó a una fiesta.
I decide I'm going to invite 3 more friends.
Y decide que va a invitar a 3 más amigos.
How many friends are there in all?
¿Cuántos amigos hay en total?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Y son 7.
Let's say you don't have a number line.
Hay que decir que no tiene una línea de números.
You can make a number line on a piece of paper by drawing a line and putting the numbers on top.
Usted puede dibujar la línea y poner los números de arriba de la línea.
If you don't have counters, have them draw the picture that matches the story
Si
problem.
no tiene contadores, pueden dibujar una historia como para que representa la línea.
If your student is a little reluctant in math,
Y si el niño tiene un poquito de trabajo, dificultad entendiendo las matemáticas,
the counters you use could be a toy that the child likes. Have them draw pictures of something that they're interested in.
y si los contadores pueden hacer algo que le interesen al niño como dulce o cualquier otro juguete que les encante.
And a number line can go, this one just stops at 10, but your number line can go much higher than that.
La línea de números puede ir más alta en números. Esto es solamente para 10.
In 4K, or excuse me, in 5K, they are just going to add within 10.
Y hasta 5 grados kinder solamente llegan al 10.
Any questions about the number line?
¿Algunas preguntas de la línea de números?
Okay. We're going to move on to the hundreds chart.
Vamos a movernos al gráfico de 100.
In 4K, they'll work on counting to 25. In 5K, they'll count all the way to 100. And I know I'm that proud parent that says, my kid can count to 100.
En 4K van a aprender a contar hasta el 25 y en kinder van a aprender hasta el 100.
But when we start asking the questions of count on from any number, that's harder for them.
Cuando les digan que empiecen a contar adelante de cualquier número, está un poco más difícil para ellos.
So a hundreds chart will help with that, and you're going to get one of these in your packet as well.
Y el gráfico de 100 les va a ayudar a contar de esta forma. Y también va a recibir unos de estos en el paquete.
I'm changing my counter. These are see-through counters, which help with something like this, but if you don't have anything that's see-through, you can use any other type of counter.
Estos contadores son transparentes y pueden ver los números, pero si no tiene de este tipo, puede usar cualquier cosa.
So with the hundreds chart, they can see the number,
Con el gráfico de 100 pueden ver el número,
say the number,
decirlo
and represent the number.
y representar el número.
So with this, we're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're sticking to my hands, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Van a contar del 1 al 10.
One thing that they're going to do as a kindergarten student is count by tens.
Una cosa que van a hacer cuando estén en kinder es de contar de 10.
The hundreds chart will help them recognize, say, and represent the numbers 10 through 100 counting by tens.
El gráfico de 100 les va a ayudar a reconocer y que miren visualmente los números del 10 al 100 cuando cuenten de 10.
One thing to have a good number sense, you want to make sure that when they're counting by tens, they know that there are 10 ones that represent that 10.
Y que sepan el sentido de 10 cuando están contando es que hay 10 unos en cada cuadro.
So a way to do that is to have counters out, to have 10 counters out to represent each number, to show them that there are 10 counters, and that's why we say 10.
Y que puede tener contadores para que represente el 10 así como tiene en la foto.
And you can do the same thing when you go on to 20 and 30 and so on.
Y puede ser la misma cosa cuando llegue al 20, 30 y más adelante.
Something else that is hard for students is to go from the last number to the 10.
Una cosa que es un poco difícil para los niños es de ir desde el último número al 10.
So if I'm counting 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, it's hard for them to flip over to this 30 because one, it sounds different and we're going into another number. You might notice that they're counting perfectly until they get to that 9.
A veces va a reconocer usted que el niño está contando bien de los números que se parecen como el 21, del 20 al 29, pero tienen un poco de dificultad llegando al 30 porque se oye diferente. pero después del 30 al 39, ellos lo reconocen.
So having this 100 chart that they can see the change over from the number in the nines to the tens.
Y por eso este gráfico les ayuda a reconocer que pueden cambiar del 39 al 40.
So when you ask them to count on from any given number, so let's say that you said the number is 54.
Por ejemplo, aquí si les decimos el 54,
you want to have them to count on from 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60.
que cuenten del 54 adelante al 59.
They might be able to count from 1 to 100 without stopping, but it's harder for them to start from any given number.
Ellos a lo mejor pueden contar del 1 al 100, pero es difícil para ellos empezar a cualquier número, por ejemplo, el 54 o para adelante.
Here again, you're going to ask the questions, what's one more, what's one less?
Le va a preguntar la pregunta qué es uno más de 54 y qué es uno menos de 54.
You can also use this for adding when you start to add.
También puede usar esta forma para cuando están sumando.
There are 2 birds in the tree.
Hay 2 pájaros en el árbol,
3 more join them.
3 más se juntan.
How many are in all?
¿Cuánto hay en todos?
So the hundreds chart can use a variety of different ways. More or less than a number.
El gráfico de 100 lo puede usar en muchas formas.
Counting by tens.
Contando de 10
Counting in general.
y contando en general.
Adding, subtracting. I think I said that already. So that was a repeat. All right, any questions about the hundreds chart?
¿Algunas preguntas del gráfico de 100?
All right. Moving on to more, less, and equal to.
El siguiente es de más, menos, igual o conjuntos.
I'm going to change my counters to insects.
Vamos a cambiar los contadores a animalitos, insectos.
And when we're comparing numbers, I just drew circles because it's easier for the students to see things in a set that has some boundaries.
Cuando estamos hablando de comparación, ella dibujó 2 círculos que están es mejor forma para ver la comparación.
You could do this on a dry erase board by drawing circles, so it's totally up to you.
Y puede hacer esto dibujándolos o dibujándolos en un pizarrón.
So part of what they do in 4K and 5K is they have to compare numbers.
Y lo que hacen en 4K y 5K Kinder es comparar números.
And when you give them 2 sets,
Y cuando le das un par de 2,
you can have them count how many are in each set.
les puede decir que cuenten cuánto hay en cada par.
You could ask questions, does this group say have more?
Le puede preguntar preguntas como si este grupo tiene más,
Does this group have less?
este grupo tiene menos,
Are they equal to each other?
o son iguales a cada uno.
If they're equal, in this case that they are,
Y si son iguales, como en este caso, si son,
have them explain why it's equal.
y que ellos les explique a usted por qué son iguales.
This is equal because there's 2 in this circle, 2 in this
Y
circle.
estos son iguales porque hay 2 en el círculo y 2 en el otro círculo.
We want to have them justify their answer as much as possible.
Queremos que ellos justifiquen sus respuestas lo más posible.
The more they can justify and explain it, the better they understand it.
Lo más que ellos se puedan justificar la respuesta, entre más ellos más lo entienden.
You can ask them, explain these 2 circles to me.
Les puede preguntar, explíqueme estos 2 círculos.
I know there's 3 in this circle,
Yo sé que hay 3 en este círculo
1 in this circle.
y 1 en este.
You can have them write the numbers 3 and 1
Pueden escribir el número 3 y 1
and have them explain what they notice about one of the circles, whether you're asking more or less.
y que les expliquen por qué ven un círculo. Puede ser que ellos ven 2 más que el otro círculo.
They may say this one has 3, this one has 1. I know this one's more, and you ask, how do you know?
Y ellos les pueden responder con este círculo tiene 3 y este es 1 y les pregunta por ellos cómo saben.
You may also ask them, show me a group that is more.
Por ejemplo, les puede preguntar, enséñame un grupo que es más de 3.
They'll put more in there.
Y le ponen más adentro.
How do you know it's more?
¿Cómo saben que es más?
They might say in the beginning, well, I added 5, or I put 5 in there.
Al principio le va a decir que porque yo les agregué 5.
But ask them, how do they know 5 is more than 3?
Pero les pregunta cómo saben que 5 es más de 3.
If students have a hard time being able to tell you why 5 is more,
si los estudiantes tienen una dificultad explicándole cómo que 5 es más que 3,
have them match up the counters.
Pónganlos que junten los contadores.
That way they can see this is the same, this is an equal amount, this is an equal amount, but this group has 2 more.
Para que pueden ponerlos en pares y cuando representen que este grupo tiene 2 más, entonces esa es la forma que ellos saben que hay más.
This way they can see how they connect and compare them object to object.
Así ellos pueden comparar los objetos a cada uno y pueden comparar los números.
You might say, and this is hard, equal is hard for them. So
cuando les dicen que son iguales, eso es un poco difícil para ellos.
So you want to make sure you exchange the words equal for the same as.
Y puede usar la palabra igual, que es igual a, que es igual.
So show me a group or a set, you could use the word set, show me a set that is equal to.
Les puede usar la palabra, enséñame qué es igual a.
And then they would show 3.
Y les va a enseñar 3.
Less is a harder word for them.
Y menos es una palabra un poco más difícil.
We talk about more cookies, more candy. They understand more. The word less is harder.
Los niños entienden la palabra más porque siempre piden que quieren más galletas, más dulces o más.
So you might use the word least or lesser amount or less amount.
Puede usar la palabra menos o menos en número.
So if you want to try working with more, but less is where they'll need the most work and equal to.
Que puede trabajar con ellos con la palabra más, pero ellos van a necesitar más ayuda con la palabra de menos.
Another thing that these circles is for, and which they'll do in kindergarten and 4K as well, is they do a lot of sorting.
Y también estos círculos les van a ayudar en kinder para que le van a hacer mucho sorteando.
They may sort by color, by object, by shape.
Van a sortir de colores, de forma de objetos o de diferentes formas.
So I've got my insects here, and I am going to sort these out.
Va a sortirlos.
You might sort them by flying insects.
Los va a sortir por insectos que vuelan.
I'll pull that a lot. So you could use these circles to sort.
Puede usar los círculos para sortear.
You might use these circles to work in to sort by color.
Puede sortir en color.
And when you're sorting, because this is going to lead into graphing and collecting data eventually, have them tell you how they were sorted.
Y que cuando estén ellos sorteando, que eso les va a ayudar en el futuro cuando estén colectando datos y que les explique por qué están sorteando, o cuál forma están sorteando.
I sorted by color.
Que ellos sortieron por color.
I have blue and green.
Tenemos el azul y el verde.
Then you can ask, well, how many do you have in the blue group?
Les puede preguntar cuántos tenemos en el grupo de azules.
Or the green group.
O el grupo verde.
And then you can have them compare them. Are they more, less, or equal to?
Y puede compararlos si es más, menos o igual.
There's lots of things you could do with these circles to help them sort materials. again, making sure they justify their answer.
Y hay muchas formas de usar el círculo para cuando estén surtiendo y también que les expliquen por qué o que justifiquen sus respuestas.
And we're going to move on to patterns.
Vamos a movernos a los modelos.
In 4K and 5K, they do basic repeating patterns.
En 4K y 5K hacen los básicos modelos que se repiten.
Right, so they're going to be asked in kindergarten especially to repeat the pattern.
En 4K y kinder les preguntan que repitan un modelo.
So we have the start of an A-B pattern.
Aquí tenemos el comienzo de un modelo de A-B.
And what this means is A represents an element.
La A representa un elemento.
And B represents an element.
Y la B representa otro elemento.
So we could call this blue, red.
Esto lo podemos llamar azul, rojo, azul, rojo.
Or they may say A, B, A, B.
O pueden decir A, B, A, B.
This could be anything. This could be snap, snap, clap, snap, clap.
Puede ser cualquier cosa como si están tornando los dedos o aplaudiendo.
You want to make sure they're repeating the pattern.
Y que se aseguren que ellos están repitiendo el modelo.
You could even ask questions, what's missing in the pattern?
Le puede preguntar preguntas como qué es lo que le falta en el modelo.
They would say blue, red,
Puede
red.
decir azul, rojo, y azul, rojo.
And then they could draw or write in or put their object in.
Y pueden poner el objeto que falta.
That's an A-B pattern.
Este es un modelo de AB.
Then we have an ABC pattern.
Y tenemos aquí un modelo de A, B y C.
Oh, sorry. There we go. So A represents by the blue element, B is the red element, and C is the green element.
La A representa el color azul, la B representa el elemento rojo y la C representa el elemento verde.
And you just want to make sure that they are repeating this pattern.
Y que se aseguren que ellos repitan este modelo.
They may have chosen to represent this by the type of insect. I did this one by color again. It is totally up to you and them how they represent the pattern.
Y ellos pueden representar el modelo de cualquier forma y nosotros decidimos hacerlo por color.
We also have the ABB pattern.
Tenemos un modelo de A, B, B.
This is repeating again.
Estoy repitiendo otra vez.
Eventually, students will learn that this part, which is our ABB, that's the part that's repeating. You may heard it referenced as a set or the chord that repeats.
Y ellos en el futuro van a saber que la parte que se repite es la A, B, B y a veces se llaman grupos.
So you might ask, what part repeats?
Les puede preguntar cuál parte es la que se repite.
And it would be the green, blue, blue.
Y sería la verde, azul, azul.
All right, and the last pattern that they will do would be an AAB.
Y el último modelo que ellos van a aprender es el AAB.
AAB. You could ask them to repeat the pattern. Can you repeat the pattern for me? And they would add AAB.
Y les puede preguntar si ellos pueden repetir el modelo y ellos van a poner el AAB.
All right, that's it for patterns.
Eso es todo para los modelos.
I'm going to unshare my screen so I can answer any kind of questions. Right now I can see everybody. Any questions that you may have? If you need to unmute yourself, click on your picture and click the word unmute in the top corner.
Hay algunas preguntas y si necesita preguntar algo, puede presionar a su foto y usar los tres bolitos que salen.
Let me see if I can- Okay, one thing that I ask that you would just keep an open mindset when you are at home working with your mathematicians, because I'm old and math was taught to me very different than we teach it now. So I have had to learn a new way of learning for my daughter and of teaching. But if you will ask the questions like how many more, how many less, instead of saying how, you know, what's one, what number comes next, those type things, and let them use manipulatives as much as possible, because with them saying it, hearing it, and touching it, it helps them tremendously as a mathematician. And I said way too much. I'm sorry.
Dice que si pueden tener una mente abierta para cuando estén ustedes con los niños ayudándolos, que porque es una forma diferente de como nosotros aprendimos hace unos tiempos. Así que si pueden preguntarle las preguntas de qué es uno más o qué es uno menos, así ellos pueden saber de lo que están hablando.
So have them practice as much as possible with counting. If you're going down the road, have them count. Have them count from any given number. Have them show you by representing on their fingers, because they won't always count on these fingers. But at the beginning, that is a good tool, especially if you don't have a counter in front of you. Have them show them on their fingers.
Entre más practiquen los niños, más les ayuda. Si van en el carro, que cuenten cualquier cosa, que empiecen a contar de cualquier número, y al principio ellos van a estar usando sus dedos porque no todo el tiempo van a tener contadores, así que pueden usar los dedos.
All right, so in the comments, can everybody see the comments? Give me a thumbs up if you can see the comments on the right-hand side.
Un dedo para arriba si pueden ver los comentarios a mano derecha.
If you can, scroll to the top of the comments. If you haven't already, sign in, because that's how I'm going to know to get your child your baggie of supplies once they come in. So make sure you scroll to the top and complete the sign-in sheet.
Si pueden subir para arriba, ahí hay un lugar, un enlace donde pueden firmar su nombre para que les den los materiales de los niños.
And there's also another link below that Ashton Gardner added.
Y también hay otro enlace ahí debajo del primero.
That is a survey, if you don't mind filling that out as well.
Y es una encuesta, si pueden llenar eso también, por favor.
I'm going to add my email here for you. That way, if you have any questions, you are more than welcome to email me directly, and I will answer those questions for you.
Y también va a poner su correo electrónico para si tiene cualquier otra pregunta.
And I will send home your materials as soon as they come in. If not, feel free to draw anything that I have shared with you today. And also, everything that I taught today, I have created a video that I will also share with you so that you can refer back to, because I know this is a lot of information in a short period of time. So I've created a video just of each thing that I taught today so that you can access those and rewatch those if you need it.
Y también dice que ella creó un video de todo lo que les enseñó el día de hoy. Así si lo necesitan también lo va a poner en los comentarios. Y también cuando lleguen los materiales, ella los va a mandar con los niños.
All right, if you have some questions that you'd just like to ask me right now, I will stay on for a little bit. That way I can answer them for you. If not, I hope you have a great day, and I will see you soon.
Y es todo por el día de hoy. Así es. Tienen unas preguntas, pueden preguntarlas ahorita.
I have a question.
Yes.
How did you say, because I didn't sign in, I just went right into it.
Uh-huh.
So how did you say you sign in again?
Are you on your phone?
I'm on my phone, yes,
okay.
ma'am.
At the, kind of touch your screen at the bottom, it should pop up, like several things will pop up, and it'll say chat.
I have mute, stop video, share content, participate, and more.
Go to more and see if it's in there.
More. Okay, I see it, chat.
Yes. And then scroll to the top.
Scroll to the top and press the link that's right there.
Yes, ma'am.
Alrighty. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'll hang out for a little bit if anybody has another question.
This is Ian. I'm driving, but I tried clicking on the link and it said that I needed permission. So
Okay.
I wasn't sure if that's something that I could get an email.
Yes. What's your email address?
It's just my name at gmail.com, anrenew@gmail.com.
Who's your
Or I could follow up.
class is your student in?
Amanda Stevens.
Okay. I will get.
I was a late joiner with Miss Luke.
Okay.
Miss Cooper.
I will get that to you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm not sure I don't have any questions.
Yo tengo una pregunta, disculpe.
She has a question. Yes.
¿Cómo le hago para inscribirse o anotar?
Ok, usted vino a la junta para que el niño reciba los materiales.
Ajá.
Sí, ahí a mano derecha tiene si le presiona su pantalla, va a salir como chat y uno que dice más.
Ajá.
Le pone ahí a más.
Ajá.
¿Puede ver el chat?
Sí.
Ok, si sube para arriba, mano derecha, ahí puede ver, hay dos enlaces.
Ok, está en el primero.
En el primero, sí.
Ajá.
Y ahí se inscribe para que el niño reciba los materiales.
Ok, está bien, entonces, gracias.
Ya.
Do you have any other questions? All right. Oh. Okay. All right. If no one has any questions, I'm going to close out the Zoom. Give me a thumbs up if you're hanging on until there's nobody else here to ask a question. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Igualmente.
Are you still there? No.
I am.
Could you, it's not letting me go in. I'm having trouble. It's not letting me sign up at the link.
Okay. Who's your child? And I will get you the link.
Her name's Leah Rains.
And whose class?
McConaughey.
Okay. I will email you the link. Will that work?
That's great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Hey, can you hear me? Hey, I'm unable to see the sign up link too. And
What's your student's name?
it's Easton Lawson.
Whose class?
Tammy DeShields and Alyssa Creef.
All right, I will get you those links out.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Amber. You're welcome.
Sigue ahí.
Sí,
Entonces, ¿es la misma clase que se dio solamente es para 4K o es para todas las clases, perdón?
es para esta es para 4K y 5K. Para la semana que viene va a ser para los, what's next week?
Primero y
Next week is
segundo.
first and second
Sí,
grade.
primero y segundo para la semana que viene.
Ok, entonces ahorita nada más sería anotar como lo de mi niño que va en 5K, ¿verdad?
Sí, ujú.
Ok, está bien, entonces muchas gracias.
Sí, de nada.
Que tenga buen día.
Igualmente, adiós.
Adiós.
All right, I'm gonna disconnect if no one has a question.